Right, thank you for joining us. It's been an interesting conversation behind the scene, but let's go to the papers this time and let's know what's on the front pages of the Nigerian newspapers. Joining me in the studio are two journalists, Dari Udufowoko and Ifi Onyegwili. Good morning. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast. All right, let's head straight to the papers now, and we begin with the Nigerian News Direct. Bayelsa governorship poll rather. Supreme Court affirms Diri's election. Litigants not my enemies. Diri responding there. And then we move to the national economy. PMI, Nigeria's manufacturing sector reverses 5 months of contraction. 6 subsectors record expansion above 50% threshold. And to the front page of the Leadership newspaper now, Umahi's defection heightens agitation for Igbo presidency. It's non-negotiable, says Senate Minority Leader. Igbo alone can't produce President Okorocha. President Muhammadu Buhari endorses Umahi's membership of APC, says his defection based on principle, not coercion. Progressive Governor Storm Ebonyi. All right, let's quickly move now to the front page of the Blueprint. Ahead of Ebonyi Governor's defection to APC today, Wike wants Umahi heading towards political oblivion. All right, and on the front page of the Daily Times, still talking about the same story, Umahi Wike in war of words. And on the front page of the Business Day now, hashtag NSAS Aftermath reflects government's disconnect with Nigeria's future. That story you find on the front page of the Business Day. To the Nation newspaper now, 2023, Umahi's defection raises presidential zoning stake. Governor urges APC PDP to zone ticket to Southwest. Wike knocks colleague as Buhari applauds action. All right, on the front page of the Vanguard, Army, CNN trade tackles over Lekki shooting. Burate insists Army will never operate outside its rules of engagement. Army used live bullets on Lekki protesters. CNN insists, well, Nigerians should feel safe. Kidnappers, bandits being dealt with. Burate. All right, this is stemming from the CNN investigation that was aired yesterday, which a lot of reactions has followed or is trailing that story. All right, we quickly move now to the front page of the Daily Sun. Hashtag NSAS, UK moves to sanction Nigerian officials. British Parliament to debate punitive action November the 23rd. And finally, on the front page of the Daily Trust now, tax relief for small businesses as federal government okays Finance Bill 2020, rules out tax increase, reduces taxes on mass transit vehicles. All right, let's see the story on the front page of the Daily Sun. Hashtag NSAS. UK moves to sanction Nigerian officials. The British Parliament is debating punitive actions. So much is still stemming out of the hashtag NSAS protest. We saw the investigative report the CNN did, which is also generating reactions. And now we are also seeing the UK moving to sanction officials. How does this come to you, Ify? Let me begin with you.
I actually expected it, if you ask me, because when I didn't hear from these broadcasters talking about the foreign media, I knew that something was cooking, because they don't just jump like we do here. You see videos all over the place. People are writing all sorts. The figures are, varying as it is. So I knew they were cooking up something. And when I mean cooking up something, they're doing the investigations. They're talking to people. They're comparing notes and looking at what's happening. So for us to hear that the UK is moving to sanction Nigeria, they must have gone the extra mile to find out exactly what it is that has happened.
Independent investigation.
Exactly, and this is why they are coming up with this.
But some would say that Nigeria is a sovereign state and that they have no business with what goes on within the country, and so all of this it shouldn't be what they should be focusing on.
Well, I don't agree with the fact that because we are sovereign, we should not be responsible to certain norms. And if it will take the UK to remind us We also have responsibilities to global organizations. We have responsibility to respect rights of
Human rights.
humanity. Then so be it. However, talking about NSAS protest as the issue here, I would just want to tell the UK and whoever to tread softly.
Really? Why?
You cannot be in a hurry to pass a verdict on an issue the people concerned have resolved to look into themselves and make amends. If we have agreed to reconcile as we are saying with the panels and government directives, I think we should be encouraged by foreign bodies and foreign nations to seek and toe the path of reconciliation as much as we can. Because UK wants to punish or sanction Nigerian officials. It's a closure of some sort on what has happened. And then what happens after you have sanctioned officials? Will those officials still be keen about making amends? Will those officials still be keen about compensating victims? I think it will be too hasty. There are panels here and there in Nigeria too. And then what figures or what facts will
Are
the
they
UK
working with?
Is it the likes we'll get from Amnesty International? Well, if those are the facts, then it is not fair enough. It won't be balanced enough. Amnesty International, from all their releases, I am a member of organizations affiliated to Amnesty International, but since NSTAR started, I have not really been comfortable with what I've been saying. Amnesty have been reeling out releases and statements condemning alleged killings of protesters. But I've not seen one on the killings of policemen. Okay. Policemen are also human beings. Their lives also matters. All right. And I think if we really
expect a balanced report,
that it should be balanced. So I'm not comfortable with the facts UK will rely upon. I have seen the CNN video that is being talked about, and I'm cautious as a practicing journalist. I'm not in a hurry to rubbish my sector. I'm very cautious in commenting on it because I've seen it, and I see that some of those videos that were disputed, that are still being disputed, so one or two that have been debunked by those who posted them, were used as part of that report.
Really?
Yes. It is out there.
But the same panel that, because are you really certain that we are on track with regards to reconciliation, healing, and ensuring closure with the various panels that have been set up in the States? Because a lot of persons are already discrediting the panels. They are saying that what has ever come out of the various panels that we have had over the years, are we going to see that justice is done, not just done, but seen to be done, and people get that closure?
I think it's a matter of trust, because I listened to what Dari was talking about. We had a conversation before we came in here. Yes, some of the things he said I will agree with, but I wouldn't agree that we throw away everything that the foreign media have actually put forward or put on the table. You talked about Amnesty International. I agree. Amnesty should also talk about the policemen that were killed. Quite a large number of persons were killed. Nobody's talking about that. They are human beings also. Absolutely. But then we need to stop cherry picking. That is the truth. Lives were lost. I wouldn't say this is a number of lives that were lost, but everyone on the different sides of the divide, they are saying, look, we lost men. This one said we lost people, as it is talking about the NSAS protesters. They lost people also. But the idea is, he asked me a question this morning before we came on. How many people have come out? And I was looking for the answer. He's saying to me, how many parents have come out to say,
there were people who said their relatives. Yes, their relatives.
There are people who said that their relatives died.
I heard that. Yes, I heard that this morning.
You know, those things are coming out.
They are coming out.
When you look at it, she just talked about these panels that have been set up. How open are these panels going to be? That it will come on, this one says, this is what happened, this is who sent us. This one says, this is who invited us. I even saw a report. Someone says, look, it was the CNC that gave the order. Now, who exactly are we going to believe? Right. The young lady who's talking to CNN now has called out the governor to say, Mr. Governor, we need to understand who gave the order.
We also know the back and forth that went on with who made the call that, you know, the army should come.
That's it.
There was a back and forth. So the government on its path, is it handling... Yes, they said
army
it, and the army said, you invited us. That back and forth.
I listened to the army general who went to the panel, who said the invitation is from the government.
The government.
The government.
The governor, yeah.
The governor ordered the curfew. The army moved in. Definitely there was communication. Before the army won't just leave.
No, but Harry, if the army moves in, does it mean
I'm
means that the police is not able to keep the peace?
At the point you declare a curfew, it simply means the police are unable. Let's get that straight.
Right. So that's an indictment. That's an indictment on the police.
Indictment on the same people who were being killed, who were being attacked.
At the time, it was obvious
I don't
that
think it was
the police
they were overwhelmed
at the time, right? But the way it was managed in terms of who said what and who should come in and all, that has also poked holes in the issue of trust.
No.
Don't you think?
No. Let's get it straight. Things happen. We want to pick the pieces and mend it. We should be realistic and truthful enough about it.
Absolutely.
This is it. There was a curfew ordered. The army went into town. That is understandable.
Who gave the order?
Who gave the order is another issue.
Absolutely.
If the governor made one thing clear, I cannot order the army. If we believe him because...
Then who did?
I'm coming. If we believe him because it's constitutional, then we should ask the army. You said the governor ordered you. Is he empowered to
do so?
It is only when we don't want to be truthful. In this same country, we've seen a police commissioner disobeying a governor. Right. And at the end, when you ask him why, he will say, I don't take orders from the governor.
I don't report to the governor.
I don't report to the governor. How come suddenly
so these are the issues.
The army wants to take instruction from the governor?
These are the issues that a lot of persons feel
that
they may not get justice.
That is
the back and forth,
that's where the lack of trust comes in.
See, this is one reason why I believe we should give justice a chance.
All right.
Internally. If we keep believing we will not get justice, then we won't get justice.
All right.
Already in the quest for justice, lives were lost.
So many lives.
If we didn't believe we were going to get justice, why did we waste so much lives? Now we must be patient enough. We must be trusting enough in this same system we were demanding things for that led to the loss of life. Now the balls are on all the tables. Let us believe that we must, not that we can, but we must get justice. Questions must be asked. Answers must be provided.
Definitely.
The panels are already sitting.
And let's
when I learned that the young ones on the panel walked out, I was sad. But I'm glad they came back. Let us get to the root of this so that we can have closure. Anyway, I'm trying as much as well not to be on either side.
Anyway, the Minister for Information, Lai Mohammed, will be addressing these issues.
That will be the federal government side of it today.
So later today at 11. So let's hear what the government will be saying.
But is it possible that we see a government that says, look, with the benefit of hindsight, maybe we did something wrong
They
here.
should tell
Citizens,
us.
I am sorry. It's as simple
as
that.
Let's wait and see.
If they should say it.
If they stood
let's
by,
wait and see what happens later today at that press briefing.
But then we should also quickly talk to foreign observers, foreign agencies to give us a chance to make peace.
Yes, to see how we can handle this issue at the end of the day. All right, let's quickly move on. Now we have a book here by the beautiful Ife Onyegbune that would like to quickly review. And I want to begin with a quote here by the first face on TV in Africa. That's Anike Agbaje Williams, that said, quality has been watered down in the profession of broadcasting as against what it was in my time. Now, this book is talking about how did we get here, Ife Onyegbune, talking about quality. This is what a lot of persons have been talking about over the years. The quality being watered down. You saw that even during the #EndSARS protest. So many media houses were being lashed, even on social media. This is doing what, that is doing this. And how did we get here to this point where we are not getting that quality? We sometimes have to rely on international media to get that quality that we desire. That
relying on international media, I would say, sometimes. Maybe most of the time, because you find that even when government officials want to talk, they would rather look the way of international media. And I think that's an embarrassment. What's stopping you from calling the conventional media, people who have been trained to do this job? But you find out that what they do is look out for people who are social media influencers. That's what they call them. And as long as you have a smartphone, you have data, you can sit anywhere, you see a picture. Have you noticed that they don't even understand what it is? When there is a rape case that involves a minor, they put the child's face out there. And when you say that, they say, no, we need to know who it is. And I'm like, no, this is a child. You're supposed to blur the face and all of that. So you need to learn these things. It's something you need to learn. And if you don't go through that tutelage, you will not know it. So when we talk about quality dropping, it's everywhere. Is it in journalism, talking about print journalism? Is it in the broadcast industry? It is dropping because people are not doing exactly what it is they're supposed to do. They're just dumping on the bandwagon to say, look, I'm able to do it. I can speak well. I can do this. I can
be a presenter. I can be a presenter. There's nothing, I don't need the training.
And they just jump on, and they don't do the training. Of course, Theo and I were talking this morning as we got here, and he says to me, look, how many of them want to get trained? I'm sure you understand what I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
Everyone is in a hurry.
Yeah, because nobody wants to pass through the ropes anymore. That's the bane of our own profession, journalism. If any profession is affected by the craze to rush, it is journalism. Check the prints. Pick a copy of any paper and you find so many errors, so many obscenities in words and in pictures. The use of languages, things that ordinarily should not be explained. I remember in those days when we say many of those things cannot be reported in print. We will end a sentence that way, just to say so many obscenities were exchanged. But especially when you read some paper and you read this court divorce sections, then you will see the exchanges written verbatim.
Dari, let me shock you with
and
Veronica.
then, sorry, in the area of pictures, the kind of pictures we get published these days, I saw a newspaper reporting.
But which editor lets such things pass?
There is a gatekeeper.
That's the answer to your book. How did we get here? Because if you are talking about how did we get here, simply means the editors, we allowed it to pass.
Yes.
Some of us allowed it to pass, and then that's exactly how we got here. Those who ought to know are either pretending not to know or are desiring not to be bothered.
Veronica, I saw a story about the NBC. You know, the NBC has been in the news for quite some time now. And they had to use pictures. I'm like, Google the NBC. You will see the Nigeria Broadcasting Commission is there. But they go to pick the picture of the NBC in the US and use it for that story.
Nigerian
I had
NBC.
to call someone to say, this is your story, please go and check. This is not the photograph or the logo of the NBC.
And the social
who
media
allowed that
too
to
has
pass?
also, made what we're seeing now. A lot of persons just post. I want to be the first to drop this and all of that, to break the news and the rush to break the news. And then there's some sort of a competition. You have to balance this. You have to meet up with the demands of what the society.
That's why
because
I take
everyone is
everything I
hungry.
see. When I see something on the social media, I take it with a pinch of salt.
Because it's just out there.
I take it with a pinch
Somebody
of salt.
saw it somewhere, unverified.
I just copy
and then
it.
starts spreading
Sharing.
it. And then we also have ourselves to blame. In that, recently during the end SARS crisis,
protest.
the NBC came out to sanction some media organizations.
Right.
But a lot of us are shouting, no, rightly or wrongly, there must be checks and balances. We can begin to look at the actions later.
Okay.
But let us ensure that we need to balance, we check ourselves and balance what we do. Some of the actions of the sanctions organizations are actually not good. But we are throwing away the baby with the bathwater. We are just saying, no, that sanction was uncalled for.
But nobody is saying don't sanction.
A lot of people are
Nobody
saying
don't
sanction
sanction
them. They were actually giving the public what the public want. As media practitioners, we are not to give the public what they want. We are to give the public what ought to be given.
Right.
In the area of balance, in the area of facts, in the area of objectivity, and ensuring there is no obscenity. So when you say the media must give the public what the public wants, it is a no-no. You should give the public what the public ought to get. Because that is why we are
But you have to
professionals.
tell the story. And if telling
Tell
the
the
story
story,
ensure there's
means
balance.
that's it.
If telling the story means creating chaos and crisis, as
No one
professionals,
sets out to
no,
do
no,
that.
no, no. As professional, you must not tell that story that way.
No one sets out
There
to
are
do
ways
that.
to tell the same story
without
creating
chaos.
chaos.
Now, let's quickly
That's
look
what we're
at the
saying.
aspect of funds, money, which plays a major role. There it, the way he said it.
Because we are going to ownership, and we know that.
No, now, because the major issue, we are talking about how we got here, why we see certain stories, and why it's certain things are reported the way they should. Because you know that, as it is said, a lot of journalists are not being paid the way they should. In fact, when you place it side by side, what you see international journalists get for the job they do, it's a far cry. And then there's the brown envelope syndrome, which has also come to play. Let's quickly touch on that, on bringing us how we got here, perhaps, how that is also affecting us, and he mentioned ownership as well.
If we talk about this issue of ownership, let me just defer that to Dari, but let's look at this idea of journalists who are not being paid. Some are not being paid at all. As I speak with you, some people are being owed for like a year, some more than a year. But the question will be, why will you still stay in a place where you're not being paid for? How do you go to work? How do you pay your bills? Do you understand what I'm saying? And that's why many of these media owners will say, look, you say you don't get a salary. Okay, I don't pay you a salary. But you drive a car. You're doing well. You're still here doing the job. And that's why many of them will have the effrontery to say, you have an appointment letter, you have an ID card, go and take care of yourself.
And that affects the stories
it's very
churn out.
wrong, yes. And there's a way they look at Nigerian journalists as it is. At some point, some people say, look, I don't want to be called a journalist because they look at you, they look down on you and all of that. I had a teacher, you know, she's British, and she said to me years ago, if as a young lady, I used to report politics in Nigeria. She said to me that when they get here, they're coming to do stories. The way they single them out, put them in one corner to say, look, we're going to talk to you people. The Nigerian journalists, they keep them waiting. It just doesn't make sense. So we need to begin to see how important this job is and treat it exactly how it should be treated. Then again, media owners should also find a way to get to pay people. You don't have to have too many people working for you. Get in the much that you can actually take on and pay them well so that they're able to do the job and look away from the brown envelope.
All right, I need you to quickly touch on the ownership issue before we move,
It's
because
interwoven.
time
Actually,
is
it's
of essence.
interwoven.
Yes.
The ownership would definitely interfere with objectivity. There is no way you will run away from that. It now depends on the owners and the professionals involved to balance the clash. There would always be a clash because the owners, if they happens to be involved in public issues, would expect unprofessionally that you protect them in a way. But you as professionals should also know that, yes, I have to say it the way it is. But these are people who have a stake in. So is there a way you can ensure objectivity without affecting the ownership? We'll find a way around that. But in Nigeria, you find a situation where the owners feel, look, we are here to do business. And when you see media organization as a profit-making venture, to the extent that the profit must come in leaps and bounds, that will be an issue. And then you have
It's not
workers.
a charity organization.
Absolutely.
It's not charity.
That will take me to what you said. Have a media organization. Take on. You go to media houses. I give it to some managers of our media organizations in Nigeria, and others too. I give it to them. You walk into a media house, you find 100 people, and only 30 people are actually working and earning their pay. Only 30 people are doing their job. So I will tell owners, don't be sentimental about keeping people on the job. Do away with those who are not adding value. Pay those who are doing the work well. Right. In that way, you will be able, if you have people who you have given ID card, you have given an appointment letter like you said, and you don't pay them salary, how will you be able to complain about their attitude? If you don't give them money to get the job done, they will fight. They become like policemen. You put policemen in a police station, no money to run the place, and you want to complain that they are taking bribes.
All right.
They will find a way of running the place. So journalists that you don't pay well will also find a way of doing the job, but usually the wrong way. And then
that's how we got here.
That's how we got here. Right. A very good place to leave this conversation. Now, Dario Dufo, thank you so much. If your book has helped us this morning. Get on it.
I will soon start reading the book, and because we really need to now get here.
Very important.